You know, that raises, there was a release today. I mean, just to sort of pivot into the type of people surrounding Donald Trump, there was a release today of the National Security Memo. I mean, from the National Security Council. Those guys who got fired, it was
Rich
Higgins and that other guy, Watkins something. And I don't know if you've read it. It is insane.
I think we're not doing people a service unless we actually read them a passage of it, which I do have here.
Oh, you do have one of that? Which passage are you going to read?
So this is the one from Higgins,
right?
Arguing about the domestic enemies of Donald Trump and what needs to be done to them.
All right, read it.
We ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'll try I can't do Morgan Freeman, folks, but we'll try here. Culturally conditioned to limit responses to such attacks as yet another round in the ongoing drone from diversity and multicultural malcontent. These broadsides are discounted as political correctness run amok. However, political correctness is a weapon against reason and critical thinking. This weapon functions as the enforcement mechanism of diversity narratives to seek to implement cultural Marxism. Candidate Trump's rhetoric in the campaign not only cut through the Marxist narrative, he did so in ways that were viscerally comprehensible to a voting bloc that then made candidate Trump president, making that bloc self-aware in the process. President Trump is either, whatever, I can go on, the whole point.
No, that is exactly the paragraph that I have highlighted as well.
And then with the last part of it, actually, I'll skip all that crap. For this cabal, Trump must be destroyed. Far from politics as usual, like going after the president for a blowjob, which is politics as usual. This is a political warfare effort that seeks the destruction of a sitting president, which has never been done by the GOP. I threw that part in there. I mean, it's sort of this crazy tripe this guy's trying to use to justify essentially, and he was hired by Michael Flynn, I know that'll shock everybody, going after the, quote, global corporatists and bankers.
Well, I can tell you that the term cultural Marxism, it goes back quite a ways. In 2003, there was a Southern Poverty Law Center piece about cultural Marxism catching on. And the first paragraph, Pat Buchanan says it's being used to de-Christianize America. And William Lind claims it's turning U.S. college campuses into ivy-covered North Koreas. Retired Naval Commander Gerald Atkinson fears it's invaded the nation's military academies, and immigration activist John Vinson suggested aims to distort and destroy our country. It is described as a conspiratorial attempt to wreck American culture and morality. And this is going to come as a shock to you, Cliff, but it is tied into a lot of the Frankfurt School and a bunch of Jews who came over in Columbia University.
How many different things can we say here? Global corporatists, bankers, Marx. Let's all the fill-in words for Jews.
But nevertheless, I mean, these guys are on the National Security Council. And one more thing that stuck out to me, the conclusion, right? Supposedly this made it to Donald Trump's desk sometime after it's being written in May, and it's released today. Or I should say, from when McMaster fired these guys, which was, what was it, a week ago now, right? Week or two ago.
Yeah, I think about that, yeah.
When he got wind of this memo, but it went directly to the president's desk. Here's the conclusion. The recent turn of events give rise to the observation that the defense of President Trump is the defense of America in the same way President Lincoln was surrounded by political opposition both inside and outside his wire. In both overt and covert forms, so too is President Trump. Had Lincoln failed, so too would have the Republic. It was sometime in July, presumably after he saw this memo, that he started comparing himself to Lincoln. So
it already obviously was affecting him. And again, then that's kind of the point I was making earlier. Whether it's tweets or it doesn't really matter if it's in a tweet, any policy pronouncement. I mean, and this has been said about Trump forever, that the last person he talked to is what he thinks.
Yep.
He's not a smart person. He's not the negotiator he thinks he is. And it's very easy for these guys to manipulate them. And most of them, albeit while being a little bit crazy, are smart enough to know that. So, I mean, throw a bunch of this, claptrap into a memo and give it to Trump, and who knows what the hell he's doing. And, again, there are people just as big lunatics as these two guys. I give you Sebastian Gorka, for example, that are still there and still have the president's ear and probably still running ridiculous memos like that.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos